Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, attraction coach and founder of The Goddess Next Door. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show, the place for practical spirituality for daily living. Hayman is a holistic health practitioner who brings ancient wisdom into our modern lives. She teaches how to live in tune with nature and our natural rhythms so that we can live the happiest and healthiest lives possible. Before we get started with Anne today, I just wanted to mention about the Lucky Bitch Boot Camp. This is a program that was designed by Denise Duffield Thomas, and it's a fantastic program if you are wanting to manifest more money in your life. She has this program that takes you through a process of eliminating your money blocks. And, with this time of year, I know that money is always a subject. Everybody wants to have more of it. And this program, Lucky Bitch Bootcamp, is the perfect way to uncover what is stopping you from manifesting more money. So check it out. There is a link on the show page today. And just click on the Lucky Bitch banner, and you will see that it's a great program. Thanks for listening. Welcome, Anne, to the Awakened Goddess Show. I'm so excited to have you here with me today to talk about new moon manifesting. So welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah, so we have a new moon coming up, and I'm thrilled to have you talk about this today. So what is a new moon, and how does that affect us?
So the new moon is the beginning of the moon cycle, and it's historically considered to be connected with the female life cycle. So the new moon is representing like the maiden or the virgin energy. And it's always been associated with blessings, manifesting our desires, planting new seeds, connecting with your higher self, and with your second chakra, which is energy.
Oh.
And the new moon affects us differently than, say, the full moon. So at the beginning of the moon cycle, you feel more solitary, and you'd rather be alone with your thoughts than like in big crowds, where like in the full moon, it's more about connecting and community and all that stuff. And so your energy also peaks in the morning, and you might find that you get up earlier in the morning, and you have spurts of energy throughout the day, but you go to bed earlier at night. You're not up as late as you are like in the full moon, and so in the new moon, you're also more drawn to meditation and starting new spiritual practices, and you might feel very dreamy and intuitive. So that's why this time is perfect for manifesting, because you're already in this state, because this is where the moon has you. And I mean, if the moon can affect the ocean, it can affect us. Yeah. So this is a real thing. This isn't just some, a spiritual thing that somebody just came up with. This is actually a real phenomenon.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can remember when I volunteered in a hospital, I was in the labor and delivery unit, and, it's pretty common to know that there are a lot more births on a full moon. And so, yeah, I mean, it just kind of speaks to that. And I think that that's an amazing phenomenon that happens.
Yeah. So at the same time, that you feel, like you're open to all this energy and you're thinking of all these new things, your imagination and your intuition are both higher at this time too. So you're going to find yourself, while you're daydreaming about these new projects, you're going to be getting new information. And these new things, this is where you're having, where people talk about information downloads, these people that can channel information. A lot of times you get most of your information during the new moon because you're so open to it. So, if there's some project that needs to be birthed within you, this is when you're going to get all those great ideas. And, if you can tap into that energy, then you can use it for your benefit rather than you might feel a little bit out of it. You might feel a little bit spacey. And so if you're trying to like boom, work out and like get stuff done and bust stuff out, this isn't really the time for that. So that's why you need to work with this energy and use it for that dreamy time. Use it for planning. Use it for coming up with new ideas and new things that you'd like to manifest. Or, with an existing project, looking at how you can make it better and ideas to make it easier. This is the perfect time for that. So, having a journal too at this time is really important because, you can forget things very quickly at this time too, because you're so in that dreamy state, so keeping a journal so that you can write down these ideas, it's going to help you keep track of them as you gain energy, as the moon grows fuller. You're going to be able to use those ideas because you have them written down. So you're not going to forget. So that's why I always recommend people having a journal. And I have a free one on my website that comes with my e-course, my free e-course. Cool. And so you can download one there if you, don't have one to use, or you could make your own out of, scraps of paper that you staple together and, decorate it really pretty and like keep it for that new moon, keep it for that moon cycle so that it can help you bring those things that you want to manifest into reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. And then so the full moon is when things are kind of... Go ahead.
Yeah, you're feeling the most creative. And that's when you have the most energy. You have stamina. You've got, you can pull those all-nighter, well, maybe not all-nighter, but, super late work nights, and when you work out, like when you're doing physical things, you're going to find that you have more stamina. You can work out harder. You can work out longer. And so using that time to get everything done, from about the half moon to the full moon, you're like cooking. I mean, this is when you want to get stuff done. You've already thought about it in the new moon. You've planted those seeds. Then, as the moon grows fuller, you're nurturing those seeds. You're watering those seeds. And then you're pruning them too, because, you can't do everything that you think of, this new moon. I mean, you get tons of ideas. But then it's time, by half moon, you need to be pruning those ideas so that you've got the ones that are viable and you're nurturing them. You're taking care of them, and you know what to focus on. Mm-hmm. So when that time comes to be creative, you've got that set. And that's why this new moon in Sagittarius that we've got coming up is amazing because that's the focus that's coming in. That's the energy that's coming in. It's all about, getting connected with nature so that you can get yourself grounded, so that you can use the energy that you're going to have in the, as the moon grows fuller. And, you're going to be able to continue with any themes and ideas that you've had from the last moon cycle, which started in Scorpio. And that made us all super focused and made us all really look at ourselves and get super internal and go underground and dig and just find all that stuff. And so this cycle, it's going to be about using what we found there and taking it to the next level, and really having fun with it, because Sagittarius is all about fun and living in the moment and energy and freedom and, finding a way to use all those ideas and all those themes that you came up with in the last moon cycle. This is when you really, really, really want to like take that to the next level. So that's why this is perfect. It's all like building on the previous step. And so it's like, we're just all really moving forward right now. And the energy that's coming up, it just seems like so many people are just stepping into like this big greatness, into these big, I see people saying, oh, I'm, taking over these big new shoes that I have to fill. And, and I really feel myself growing. And I think, after Mercury retrogrades stuff that went on last month, I think that we're all seeing things a little bit more clearly. Yeah. We kind of know where we're headed. And so I think that, this energy is naturally pushing us through this kind of moving forward process. And it's kind of like squeezing us out of this like old skin, and we're just coming out and it's like fresh. And you really can use that energy right now to really propel yourself forward in any area of your life, like your business, new relationships, or even existing relationships that, maybe are feeling a little bit off, Really, I think that everyone is gaining clarity about what they want right now. And I think that being able to use this energy to move forward is it's really going to help people. Yeah. If you can harness it. So that's why paying attention to these cycles is so important,
Yeah, it sounds like it. I can intuitively, I know that I have felt the pull of the full moon, and I have found myself having maybe even sleepless nights sometimes when it's been really strong. But I have never really tapped into, I think, the power of this cycle. And so it's a 30-day cycle?
It's about almost 28 days.
Oh, okay.
It's almost 28. And so you'll notice that each new moon comes a little bit earlier. You know what I mean? So it's not like the 22nd. It won't be the 22nd in December.
Right.
It'll be the 21st or, the 20th. Sometimes it depends on what time of day it also becomes new. And so having a calendar, like there's a book called Wee Moon, and it's amazing. I think that's how they say it. I don't know. Is it Weeman or Wooman? I don't know. But I have had it for years, and I love it. It has all the moons in it. It's got all the planets. It talks about, it's so informative. So if you want to start keeping track of the moon and you want to keep track of where you're at with the cycle, then getting that book is amazing. You can order it on Amazon.
And how do you spell it?
It's Wemoon.
Oh, okay.
So Wee Moon, I think that's how you say it. I'm so sorry if I'm saying it wrong.
That's it.
It's like one of those things that I didn't know anyone else actually used it, I've been using it since I was like a hippie with dreadlocks living in like the forest, and then I discovered it at this like co-op bookstore in like Northern California. And I just loved it. And no one had ever heard of it. They were like, what book is that? Is that some kind of witch book or something? And I'm like, yes. Okay. Leave me alone, know? Because everyone thought I was so weird when I was younger, and now it's like, now everyone's totally like asking me like, how do I do this? And so it seems like this wisdom, this ancient wisdom is finally becoming accepted, in modern times. And people are really getting into how they can integrate it into their lives, because I might be like into the ancient wisdom, but I got an iPhone, I got an iPad.
I know, and there's apps for all this now, so it's totally
right.
modern day.
I love integrating these into your modern life. That's where it's at. So
yeah. So okay, I want to really make sure that the listeners get the how to use this cycle to our benefit. So can you take us through maybe a really simple example of what that process would look like?
Okay, so first off, would start with paying attention to where the moon cycles are, and try to go outside every couple nights and look at the moon and see where it is in the sky, and stand and really like pay attention, and really put your energy towards paying attention. And so that's going to open up your awareness. That's going to open up your intuition. So when you are having these feelings, you're going to be able to pay closer attention to how you feel. Because really, this is all about how you feel,
Sure.
When you look at things holistically, it's like a lot of times it comes back to that because that is the root of so many things that are going on with us. Mm-hmm. So paying attention to where the moon is at, first of all, and finding out, when is the next new moon. So the next new moon for us is the 22nd. And so you are going to notice, it's almost like you go into the shell, you know what I mean? And you're more intuitive, you're looking inside, and you're paying attention to all of those things. And, using a ceremony, I like to use ceremony because it really brings all of those things into our physical reality and into our lives. And it's something tangible, right. And it's a physical reminder of those spiritual thoughts that we're having. And I feel like that is so much a part of manifesting, and people don't always, it doesn't really make sense. Some people are just like, oh, you do this thing and boom, and it's like, okay, there's these steps that help us in our physical bodies because, we are spiritual people, but we're physical, right. We are physical energy. And so having that as an example for us, like in front of us, something in front of us we can see and touch, that helps our logical mind to just let it go, and accept it. And it is, and not to question it. And that keeps our energy in the flow as well. So,
yeah, well, definitely for people like myself that don't have very much earth in their chart.
Yeah.
It helps me to have something very tangible something like crystals or something like that I can look at.
It's very grounding. Yeah. So I have a little ceremony that people can do that can help them get more in tune with the new moon and help a little bit with manifesting and just helping to kind of organize those thoughts that they're having at the new moon, and so that you can use them more effectively. So basically what I do, and I have a new moon manifesting e-course that I teach, that I have. And, in that I have people get really clear about what it is that they're wanting to work on for that moon cycle. And so, you could start by writing I wish and just have an I wish list. And then you take those wishes and you really distill them down to what it is that you're really wanting, and for me, it helps me to kind of like go into like how I want to feel about these things, rather than actually like getting super dialed in or stuck on what it is that I need to do or the steps that are going to get me there.
Right.
It's more thinking about how it's going to make me feel and how it's going to affect my life, and, more why I want it kind of thing. And so it helps me to write it down like I already have it. It's already in present tense. I've got it. It's here in front of me. I've got it. And so then my mind can attract those experiences that are going to bring that thing closer to me. And also not having attachment to it as well. You can want something really bad, and hold on to it so tight, and and that makes you start worrying about if you don't get it, or, what if you don't, or what if, and so that starts, that will attract those negative thoughts to you, and that, so you want to stay really open, you want to stay really positive, and you want to put it out there without holding on to it too tightly. So doing a ceremony like writing it down in present tense on a piece of paper, and I have these sheets of paper. My in-laws, for some reason, love to buy me notepads, which I think is so cute, because I use them for my manifesting. They get me the same ones every year, and they're white, gray, and orange, and they're oblong, rectangle. And so they're really cool because I can just write something down, fold it in half, and do it again, because I like to do things in threes. And then I hold it in my hands, and I imagine myself standing in front of a huge bonfire, like the biggest bonfire I've ever seen in my life. And I've seen some in Europe that I would love to go to some of these like celebrations and rituals, because they just have these like huge fires. And so I imagine that I'm standing in front of the fire, and I'm holding it in my hands, and I imagine that I throw this wish onto the fire and I see it burn. And you want to use your imagination, because your imagination is really, really, really important for manifesting, because it's kind of like, a physical reminder of what you're doing, but it's showing you inward, you know what I mean? Rather than like actually seeing it physically. Right. This is like reminding you, it's more of that ceremony and ritual. And, imagine that it burns and you see the smoke rising up to the moon and to the sky, and you release it, and you release all attachment to it. And, you can think inside too. You can say, I would love this to happen, but I'm not totally attached to it. And so however it is that it's going to happen, I'm open, and I'm going to keep my eyes open. And that's where the next part of the ritual comes in with the rest of the moon cycle, really paying attention, keeping your eyes open, and staying intuitive, and, making sure that you feel good about these things that are happening, so that you can prune them and make sure that you're really wanting what's happening. Because, you don't just wish for something, and then when you get it, you're like, oh, I didn't really want that. Like sometimes that happens, and you're just like, oh, I didn't really want that after all. So being really clear and really getting that sense of clarity within yourself before you're putting all this energy into something, before you act upon it at the full moon, you have that space, like that magic space as the moon is waxing to that full moon. That's when you have that space, and you're going into that energy, and you're going to be able to be discerning, and you're going to be able to pick the right things if you're paying attention. So, and if you try to do this when the moon is waning, you're tired and you're sick of everything. And, so it's like doing things at the right time with the moon's energy. It's almost like an added boost, Yeah,
you're kind of going with the momentum.
Right. Exactly.
Like in waves.
Yeah. So that's why it's so important to live in tune with the moon. So many people ask me like, oh, you worship the moon. I'm like, I don't worship the moon. I just know the power, and I use that energy to my benefit rather than working against it.
Yeah.
So
it's not
really about moon worship. It's just about being effective and efficient. I'm all about efficiency.
That's right.
And if you work with the moon, you can be efficient as well. And then you're not wasting your energy. You're not ending up tired. You don't get really frustrated. You're not mad, because things just flow. Imagine if things could just flow, how easy that would be and how good that would feel.
Oh, it'd be fantastic.
Right.
Yeah. Well, as you're talking about people thinking you worship the moon, it's really as non-woo-woo as when we capture wind to create energy.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing. It's a natural flow, and you're just capturing that to use it in another way. So.
Exactly. That's a really good analogy. I like that.
Yeah. Very non-woo-woo.
Yeah. And I mean, people always tell me, you're the most grounded woo person I know. And it's like, thanks. I mean, is it because I don't have my turban on? Or maybe it's because I cut my dreadlocks off. I don't know. It's like people take me so much seriously, more seriously now that I'm like older. When I was a younger girl, it was like, I always looked really young. And so people always thought I was, just super young and just so naive. Like, oh, who is this person? And then I tell them about my education and they're like, oh, okay. Then they kind of like accept a little bit more of what I'm saying,
Yeah.
So now I feel like I'm 40 and I'm like, okay, people need to listen to me now. Like now I'm an adult, I'm 40,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, but see, the benefit is those of us that have those young genes, even when we are we are 40, we still look in our 30s.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that is a lot of, taking care of yourself and practicing, self-care and making sure that you are replenishing your energy when you feel empty before you hit rock bottom. And so I think that, all of this ties into that. Living, efficiently and taking care of yourself is all about efficiency and, not wasting your energy on things that don't matter and saving it for things that do. Then you don't exhaust yourself.
Yeah, exactly. So I know that you do something with crystals. You make crystal grids, and I am excited. I love crystals, so I want you to tell us more about how you use crystal grids in manifesting.
So for me, crystals are a really good physical example of the energy that I'm trying to use to my benefit for the moon. I use them. I made one when I was looking for a new house, and I wrote everything that I wanted for this house, right? And I'm sitting in it right now, as a matter of fact, this house that I manifested.
Nice.
And yeah, it's so cool. So I wrote this list out. And, I showed my family and I was like, okay, guys, I'm making this grid and I'm going to, I wrote this list and like, this is everything I want. And they're like, really? You think you're going to get all that? And I even wrote down the neighborhood I wanted, like the style house, the color, the floors, how I wanted like lighting, how I wanted everything to feel, So I wrote all of those things down and put it under the grid. And then I'm trying to think, maybe a couple weeks later, we found a house that, just went on the market. It wasn't even actually officially on the market. And I called and was like, I'd love to come see it. And she's like, well, nobody's going to be able to see it until the weekend. And I was like, oh, okay. So then she called me about an hour later and I was like 45 minutes away. And she said, well, if you can get here within an hour, you can come see it, I guess, real quick. She goes, we've been doing some work on it because there's a lot going on. And I'm like, okay, like that kind of scared me. But I was like, okay, I want to go see it because it's in the neighborhood that I picked. Mm-hmm. And it's a ranch, what I picked. And it has, everything on this list, And so
nice.
I show up and she meets me at the door and she cracks the door and she's like, okay, I got to warn you. And I'm like, oh, great. Okay, here it comes. She's like, the guy that lived here before was a total hoarder,
Yeah.
And so we're cleaning everything out. So please look past all of the piles of stuff, And I walk in and I'm like, oh, no, like, what the heck, I couldn't even tell what the floor was like. I didn't even know there was wood floors. I had no idea. There was so much stuff. It was crazy.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I want to go check out the backyard, because one of the things my daughter wanted was a fairy backyard. So to her, a fairy backyard has lots of trees and, filtered sunlight and,
Boy, she had her list too.
She had her, yeah. So, I walked back there. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was the biggest yard I've seen in this town. Like the town that we live in, the yards are not big at all. And so I felt like, okay, like something's going on, like this is amazing, and so I go home and we talk about it and we put in a bid, and they were closed. It didn't even officially go on the market ever. It was already, people were bidding on it. So we wrote a letter, talking about us. And so they accepted our offer. And so I, as we're getting ready to move, I'm like, oh, I should probably grab this crystal grid. Right. And I forgot kind of that I had written this list and stuck it under there. So the list falls on the ground and I open it up and it's like, I'm reading and everything that was on the list was in the house.
Wow.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Like, I can't believe that this even happened. Even though I'm really good at manifesting, I manifest turquoise things because I love turquoise and I just find turquoise things. I don't know. It's weird. And, it's just having that energy to amplify your energy that you're putting out. That's what I use crystal grids for. So I use it to, like if I'm trying to manifest abundance, like money or something like that, I use citrine. And so I'll put that on my grid. And I like to start in the middle with a grounding stone. And a lot of times I'll either pick quartz or amethyst or selenite because they help to amplify, and that quartz crystal, I can program that one to do anything I want it to do. So I can say, keep me stress-free or, amplify the energy of, me thinking about my family, or love or something I'm trying to attract or something like that. You can do that with a quartz crystal. And selenite helps to clear any negative energy that's going on. And it also helps to amplify the other stones that are around it. Nice. So, using crystals that that are symbolic or hold the energy of what it is that you're trying to manifest, using those in a grid just is like, it's almost like a physical representation of what you're doing inside. You know what I mean? With the whole manifesting process. So it doesn't have to be like you have a ton of crystals. Like I do crystal grids. Like I have one right next to me on my desk that I use for concentration. And so I think I have like 5 or 6 different stones on there. And so I use that. And it's true too that making them really helps you to organize energy within yourself as well as what you're doing in front of you with the crystals. And so I will sometimes I'll just take the crystals down and make a new grid so that it's like a physical, like I'm doing this physical thing. It helps me get grounded and helps me to focus. And so, it doesn't always have to be this one that you leave up, like the ones I do for the moon cycles, I leave up until my new moon one usually stays up for the whole cycle. My full moon, sometimes I leave it up for the full, till the next full moon, but I usually take it down right before the next new moon. Cause I just feel like that energy it doesn't really represent the whole phase to me or the whole, that moon phase. It doesn't represent the whole thing. It kind of just, for me, represents what I'm focusing on, taking action. And so after the full moon is over, I feel lazy. I finish up projects, but that's my time to chill out, So I usually take that down and put it away and have that new moon one there again to remind me of, what I wanted to finish up and what I was focusing on in the beginning of the cycle so that I know I keep myself on track, because I can get a little bit, as I go back into that new moon, it's a little bit spacey and it's, it's fluid. And so that's what I use my grids for. So like I said, they don't have to be anything elaborate unless you want them to be, I do it because I like to be artistic as well. And I'm a Libra and everything has to be balanced and pretty and,
Yeah, your crystal grids are gorgeous.
Thanks. And I spend time on them. it is a work of art for me. Yeah. And I do feel like it also helps me to be creative and really spark that energy as well. So, and because, colors, I'm a very visual person. So the colors just get me, and, I end up feeling pretty good usually after I do one, because I like doing them so much. And there's all kinds of resources online too, for making them. There's a book that I really like called The Crystal Healer. And that goes into, it's got great pictures. I have it on my iPhone, actually. I got it in iBooks.
Oh,
and
nice.
So, it's a great thing to have, to be able to look up what crystals are good for, whatever it is that you're working on, or what the crystals that you have are, going to help you with. Because some people they intuitively come across crystals and they're drawn to them, and they don't realize why they like them so much, and I'm like, well, it's because that's what you're craving, and you like that energy, and you're craving that energy, and so that's why you were attracted to that crystal. And so using whatever you have, in your collection is perfectly fine. They don't have to be, big or little or matching or anything. It's more about the actual process of making it, rather than, it doesn't matter what it looks like, because obviously it's a physical representation for you to look at, but as long as it's organized, it's like, because obviously when you look at something that's organized, it like your brain, it like digests it better, So if it's just like thrown on a platter, like your brain just looks at that and it's like, it doesn't recognize all the little pieces. It just sees the mess, right? It just sees the, like, you threw that out there, like it's a pile of rocks, Yeah,
it's not a grid.
When you organize it to be interesting, your brain sees it differently. It like almost like picks up the little pieces of it more than it would if it was just like this big thing kind of thrown out, Yeah, and using geometric shapes too amplifies the energy too, and it's also very pleasing on the eyes too. So
yeah, well, I can see how, you're creating like you say, a physical representation of your intention. And so you have that going on in your mind, you know that you set this intention. And so that's kind of programmed into your mind. And then every time you look at it, your mind kind of picks that up. It just absorbs that. So.
Right.
Super cool. I can't wait to make some crystal grids.
Yeah, I have a couple YouTube videos on my YouTube channel if you want to look at how I've done them. I have one for the new moon and one I did for a full moon. I want to say September's, I think I did. I might be putting up a couple more that I have recorded, just to show people how I do them. It's always interesting to see, why people put what crystals where, it's kind of like watching, that Bob guy paint, like, how did he do that? And like,
with the paint,
yeah, right. And so being able to see how somebody puts it together might spark ideas or, influence you in some way to maybe put it together a little bit differently. And, it doesn't have to be in any certain pattern. It's just whatever makes sense to you and whatever, activates you or makes you, I don't know, just kind of like,
it's like makes sense,
inspires
to you.
Yeah.
Well, that's really good to know because, honestly, like I said, I'm very comfortable with crystals and I love them. But when it came to, I saw your crystal grids and they're, like I said, they're so beautiful and I wasn't sure if there was like a rhyme or reason to how you lay things. And so I think that was my hesitancy about actually doing it because I was worried that, I don't want to direct the energy this way because that might not be the right thing to do. So
it's all your intent. This whole thing, all of this, manifesting, every crystals, moon magic, everything. It's all your intention.
Nice.
So whatever you feel good about doing is what you should do. And if there's some part of a ceremony that doesn't feel good to you, don't do it. Yeah. Absolutely not. Even if it's something that I'm like, this works so well for me. If it doesn't work for you, there's no point in even doing it because it really is all about your intent. You could forego doing the whole physical part of this whole manifesting method that I use. You could do it all in your head and it's going to work because it's your intent.
Yeah.
And if you can, I mean, if your imagination is that great, which, I mean, I can do that. I'm really good. I could, honestly, like when I was a kid and my parents used to ground me, I would watch movies in my head, like whatever I wanted to see. And I could just lay there and they would get so irritated because I would be like, this is fine. I don't care. Ground me. Cool. You know, like, and I would just lay there for hours and like think about things. And I just have such a good imagination that I can do that. I could go through a whole ceremony in my head and feel like I did it.
Yeah.
You know, I might not have those physical, you know, representations like the grid or the burning or whatever. But like I said, you can do the burning of the papers, you know, of the wishes in your mind. And it's just as effective, even more effective if your intent is behind it than actually like burning a piece of paper with no intent.
Yeah.
So it really is the energy that you put into it. That's what you're going to get out. So if you go into it thinking, this is stupid, this isn't going to work, it's not going to work.
No.
So, I mean, you're still going to be influenced by the moon, but you're not going to be using that energy to your benefit. You're not going to be able to bend it or manipulate it at all, like, or use it for your, you know, well-being. It's going to just happen to you, and you're going to feel like a victim, and you're going to feel like my life sucks, and why does this always happen to me? And, you know, like in the new moon, when people aren't paying attention, they get hurt more often. You know, bad things seem to happen, or they feel like I just have really bad luck. And, you know, because they're not able to pay attention because they're not getting grounded, because they don't know that they need to. They just feel, I feel freaky, you know, like people say that at the full moon, like, I just feel crazy. And it's like that energy, it's because your energy is so amplified. And if you're not grounded, you're amplifying like that cuckoo crazy energy that you see in my 5-year-old because she doesn't know how to get herself grounded, you know. But if you know how to do that, then the full moon isn't going to affect you the same as it used to. You're going to be able to use that energy efficiently, and it's not going to build up in your body, and you're not going to be like, oh, I don't even know what to do with myself. You know, you'll be like, oh, I know what to do with myself, and here's the energy to do it.
Yeah.
So that's why, honestly, like, working with the moon's energy is so important to me. And that's why I feel like I need to teach it, because I see so many people walking around just like, kind of like, duh, like, why is this happening to me? And it's like, oh, this is why, you know, this is why. And this is how you can fix it. It's not this, it's not, I mean, you could call it moon magic, but I mean, really, it's very practical. Yeah. This is very practical information, and it's real, and you can use it or you can be used by it, I guess is another way to put it. So
yeah. Well, and you have a really great e-course too that helps teach people about grounding and getting connected and balanced. So I definitely recommend that because I've done that program. So but I just want to finish off with our practical tip for the listeners. I know we talked about that ceremony. So can you just walk us through those steps again?
Yep, sure. So like I said, you can either do this in your mind or you can do this, you know, in physical reality. And if you want to do it in physical reality, all you need to do is grab a piece of paper and a pen and have a candle. And I like to have either a plate or a cup of water or something that I can, like, you know, if the burning gets out of hand, I can like drop the paper in the burning, you know, in the water so that it's not like burning my hand or anything. I have a fireplace. And so when I do my ceremonies inside, because it's fall here and it's starting to get chilly. And so from now on, I'll probably be doing my ceremonies indoors in front of my fireplace. And so I like to save my ashes after I burn things, because I use them in ceremony, and I also use them for my plants. So it's up to you, though. I mean, you don't have to use the ashes. I usually leave them for, you know, 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 days before I do anything with them. So I like to have them in a place, you know, where I can keep them safe, I guess. So so what you would do is you would write out anything that you're wanting to manifest. And I usually try to keep one wish per paper. Sometimes I go through like half a pad of paper because I got a lot of wishes, you know, or a lot of people. I like to include people that I know in my ceremonies. I usually do a ceremony with my Facebook friends, usually new and full moon, I do one. I might start doing some on the half moons as well. So we'll see how that goes.
You're a busy girl.
I do. But you know what? I love it. And if I don't do this for myself, this keeps me accountable. You know, doing this for the community keeps me accountable and keeps me on track, because I get lazy, you know, just like everybody else, you know, like I fall off, you know, practice. But if I have to do them for other people, I find that I get them done.
Yeah.
And then I do it for myself. So really, like, you know, I guess I need to work on doing things for myself more than other people, but this is helping me get there. This is helping me remember that I do want to do these things for myself. So, you know, go ahead and you write out your wish in the present tense. I am rich. I am healthy. I am abundant. I am the master of the universe. I don't know. I am Shira. I don't know. Whatever you want to be, do, feel, think, have, those things. Write it in present tense. And if you can, I mean, I guess I have OCD, but I love to fold my papers in half 3 times. It just, I don't know what it does in my brain, but it's just something I do. Maybe you have a number you like. You can, your OCD people out there, pick your number and fold it in that many times. You could just fold it in half. You don't even have to fold it. It's up to you. Whatever feels right for you. Like I said, this is all about intent. So I fold mine 3 times and I put it in the fire. And as it's burning, I imagine that my wishes are going out of the fire and the smoke is going up into the heavens, the moon, the whatever, you know, the universe, whatever it is that you want to call it up there. It's all the same thing, just different names. So it's all, you know, I imagine that my wishes go up and almost like, you know, that, like, you know, fireflies, catching fireflies is supposed to be like this thing here in the Midwest where you're like, you know, you let it go and it, you know, as it flies away, you're making your wish. So it's kind of, you know, it's kind of that same energy, you know, shooting star kind of thing, you know, like let it go. So you can also, if you're not going to burn it, you can also hold it in your hands and imagine that close your eyes and imagine that you're throwing it onto a big bonfire. And same thing, you know, you see the smoke, you know, really see it happening in front of you if you're doing it in your imagination, because that it makes it more real for your logical mind. And it'll accept it, you know, as reality easier than, you know, just thinking, you know, oh, I threw it on a fire. If you actually see it in your mind, it, you know, you're more apt to believe that really happened, you know? So doing that is the same as burning, and then you let it go, you know, and then, you know, start working on ways that you can bring that into reality, because as the moon grows fuller, you're going to have energy to take action on those things. So you want to keep checking in with yourself. Am I, you know, staying open to opportunities that are coming, that are bringing this thing closer to me? Like, because you have to take action. It's not like it just happens. I mean, sometimes if you're lucky, you know, or you've been working on things, or you're, you know, unintentionally drawing them to you by the things that you're already doing in your life, you know, and then finding ways that you can take those steps to bring it closer physically, you know, like if you're wanting to be healthy, you know, say, you know, well, you found this diet or this new eating plan or something that really resonates with you, you know, then you would take that on and start working towards making yourself feel healthy, you know. So things are going to pop up. Like maybe someone will ask you, hey, you want to walk on Wednesday afternoons, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I do. That's going to bring you closer to your goal of wanting to be healthier. So you have to really keep your eyes open to what's going on around you and what the universe is giving you, because it gives you all these gifts, and you have to really keep your eyes open to see them and to notice that, oh, okay, that's something that I need to do to bring this thing closer to me, because, you know, the universe only works as hard as you do. So it's matching you. So however hard you're working to make that happen, they're going to meet you. It's going to meet you. That energy is going to meet you and help you and assist you and send you things your way. And it's like, it's an amazing process when you're co-creating. So, I mean, just really staying focused and open to possibilities, and not being so rigid too, you know, like a lot of people feel like, oh, well, it has to happen this way, and that's the only way it's going to happen. You know, like my parents are going to give me, you know, money when I turn 18 or something like that, you know? And it's like, cause you want money. And so you have that in your mind, like, I'm going to get this money when I'm 18. Maybe you turn 18 and they spent it on some like cruise or something, you know what I mean? And like, then you're out and you're disappointed and, you know, like that's the worst thing. And you just feel like, oh, well, I didn't get what I wanted, you know? Yeah. But, you know, maybe it's like, it's going to come in a different way. Maybe you needed to work for it. Maybe you weren't supposed to get that money so easy.
Yeah.
So just staying open to the way things happen, you know, and not being so attached to it having to happen a certain way or that something's going to happen so that you get disappointed or let down, you know, like just being open to whatever is good for you. Excellent. You know, and really, really being open to that, I think, is the most important step in manifesting.
Yes. Yes. So definitely so much so that like you said, you aren't looking for it to look one way and you completely miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it shows up in a different way. Awesome. Oh my gosh, so many great tips that you offered today. So Anne has a free e-course that I mentioned earlier that teaches you easy and simple ways to get grounded, connected, and balanced so that you can start living in tune with your natural rhythms. Her moon manifesting e-courses show you how to create your own moon ceremonies to harness the moon's amazingly powerful energy to manifest your dreams. You can also book one-on-one appointments with her. Thank you, Anne, for joining me today. This was so much fun, and I can't wait to do my crystal grids and get in touch with the moon cycle.
Yeah, and I hope that you'll join me for my my manifesting ceremony too. Yes. So I'll have details on my website how you can join and how you can add your wishes, and then I'll include them in my ceremony that I do on the new moon.
Fantastic. And I know you're going to we're going to provide some links to some great resources about setting up crystal grids. And I think that you have one that we're going to have as a downloadable PDF. So people can use that as well.
Yeah, that's going to be nice too, because if you don't have crystals and you don't have a way to get them, you can use a picture of my grid for your benefit and attach your energy to it so that you can use that energy to help you manifest what you're desiring.
Fantastic. That is awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's so fun. You know I love talking about the moon.
Yeah, me too. Crystals and the moon. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening to the Awakened Goddess Show. If you had as much fun as we did, make sure to subscribe on iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and review. And until next time, goodbye everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Awakened Goddess. I hope you enjoyed today's show and took away something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at thegoddessnextdoor.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.